comment on is that he's saying that black men have an issue with black women getting education. I don't believe that any black man has an issue with a black woman seeking higher education. I think the problem that we have is that almost all black women use their education as something that makes them a better partner. Instead, when to the men that they want to date, it only makes you a good employee. You having a degree doesn't make you a better wife. You having a degree won't instill, sympathy, nurturing, or anything into our children. It won't make you a more supportive wife. It won't make you more feminine. It won't make you more desirable, and it doesn't make you more attractive. As an employee, it would make you greater because you have a advanced degree. But as a woman and as a wife, that's not what we value in. Most men don't value a woman's accolades as far as professionally speaking or educationally when it comes to choosing her to be a wife.
You may not harass women. You may know how to take rejection. The majority of men that most women deal with do not.
Yeah.
And you are accountable for that as well. Because I don't got time to figure out which white people are nice, which white people aren't racist, or da-da-da-da-da. I have to go on the actions of the group.
Right.
The group as a whole and the history of that group as a whole tells me that they are a danger to me and they are not to be trusted.
Right.
And if you can understand that as a black man and your stance towards white people, then you should absolutely be able to understand women's stance towards you.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a war on you waged by women. Actually, the war get a little thicker when we start talking about it from the perspective of a woman and the greater society of racism and white supremacy being waged against black people, and then the patriarchal society being waged against women. So they have to deal with two elements. One of those elements we don't have to think about, and honestly, we're perpetuated.
Mm-hmm.
And it's perpetuated against us young to look at women as objects,
Right.
To look at women only through the lens of a sexual desire and not as the human being that they are. And when you understand how to deal with women on a human level, you understand how much women will enrich your life.
Mm. Amen. Amen.
You want to turn it up a notch?
Yeah.
Get you a good woman get you a good black woman in your corner.
Amen.
Hey man, you want to see your life turn up?
Hey.
And see, this is the thing though. It's a privilege, bro. It's a privilege. You know what I'm saying? We often disregard the power of our black women. The spiritual essence that they're gonna bring to things. The knowing, the seeing, you know what I'm saying? Also, too, imagine it. They have to be hyper vigilant because they have to be constantly scanning the room, making sure that they're in a safe situation.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? When we think about these kids who were clearly in Louisiana having the time of their fucking life because they graduated, and we think about white people's reaction to Black joy.
Oh yeah, that's
it's not about civility. It's not about decorum. They don't like to see us happy.
That's what it is.
Now, how often are women just having a good time, and here come a nigga trying to ruin their fun?
Yeah.
Let's just be honest. You can call it pandering, but if I was up here caping for white women, you wouldn't even mention that word. If I was up here caping for Hispanic women, you wouldn't even call it pandering. Only when we take pride and show love to black women do you call it pandering. Get your motherfucking mind right. Use your cabeza.
Do men objectify women more than they respect them?
So, of course, I have to speak from a woman's perspective, right? We've always talked about how men operate with men very differently than women interact and operate with men. So, from a woman's perspective, I would definitely say men objectify women more so than respect them. Absolutely. I think it's the attempt to objectify them, and then a woman's response to it will determine if that objectification will continue or she will be respected. So I think the initial approach is typically on that level, but based on her response to the approach is going to determine if that's going to continue or she has, presented more for him to be intrigued by.
All right, go ahead, real dope. Same question. Do men objectify women more than they respect them?
It's a tough question, but I think men Men objectify a certain type of woman the same way that a woman would objectify a certain type of man. There are certain types of men who lead with their money, and even if you don't lead with their money, a woman will see you and they'll be like, "Oh, I want you for your money." You know, if you show me your money, I want it. You know, if you want to show me that you're intelligent, then I want that. You know, I think it's kind of like the same way. Men, there's certain types of women who probably never get tried by men because it's within their power to control how they're consumed by men. And certain women will go outside, and a man is never going to say, "Hey, yo, pink shirt," to her, right? And there's a certain woman who gets, you know, associated with another type of woman who he just wants sex from. And I don't think it's wrong to see a certain type of person and to just want something from them, and to not want them holistically. I don't think that's wrong. It's a lot of men who like you wearing a bunch of chains on your neck and you look like one of those guys who want women to want them for the money. Want that man for his money then. If he's showing it like that, then want him for his money. In the same way with particular women. If you're presenting yourself a particular way, then there's nothing wrong with a man seeing that and wanting what you're showing him, what you're advertising him. So I think a lot of men do want particular women for their bodies, but a lot of men do want particular women for more than that. It just depends on what category you go into.
All right. Go ahead, Willie. What do you think about that one?
I don't think that the men that women want objectify them more than anything else. And then for the ones that do, they don't matter because women don't want those guys anyway. So it's I feel like it's a waste of time debating the behaviors of a group of men that women don't even want to deal with. But it seems like those are the only types of men that these women have access to. So that's why they keep highlighting these types of behaviors. The majority of women want a certain type of guy, and the types of guys that they want don't act like this. They're not the ones that like. It's kind of like when you show like an ugly dude, he tells you pretty, but then you show like Idris Elba telling a girl pretty. It's like sexual assault versus or sexual harassment versus a first date. It's the same thing. They're focused on too many. They focus so much on the men they don't want because those are the only experiences they have. If they were being approached by men that they generally wanted or they were actually out here looking for, I think the conversation would be different because most of these women don't have access to the types of men they want in the first place. Because if they did, they'd be married by now, or they'd have one. So a woman will say, "Oh, I have all these options for men," but that's just for sex. You don't have a lot of options for the type of men you want who are willing to offer you anything long term and substantial.
All right, go ahead, Shan.
Which question? It was a lot of questions.
I can ask you a different
I
question.
can just okay. Go ahead. No.
Are black women forced to be more alert and cautious than men?
I think women are more alert and cautious than men, just because that's just how women are. I mean, you guys know that women are not as strong as men. You don't want to ever be in a dangerous situation, so of course, and you have to always figure out, well, what this person's intention is. If I'm going on a date, does he want me for sex? Does he want me for something else? These are all things I've learned through the internet. But can I go back and answer the other stuff? Let me just make it very clear. When I step outside the internet, the men I encounter are great men. They're respectful. I don't have a problem with black men in real life. When we're on the internet, it seems like black men are out here doing old white men's work. It has turned from, we being attacked by other racial groups. Now black men have taken it on. They don't got to do nothing. We do it to each other. And that's women too, because I've seen women attack black men. We do it to each other. So yes, I have seen men get on here praising white women. What has a white woman ever done for you? But you got her on a pedestal because one or two black women you don't like did something to you. Or you saw a person you don't even know in real life come on saying something that you don't like, right? And I just, for the life of me, I don't understand how you can attack people like you. Now, we're having a conversation, like, I don't mind that in we have a Facebook chat, but when you're in a public space and people can watch You sit here down in yourself. Because the last time I check, and I say this all the time, black men make black women. Your sperm produces black women. So you indirectly messing over yourself. You saying your product is fucked up. You understand? So I don't get it. You ain't never gonna hear me. I'll sit here and say some things I don't like about us, but I'm never gonna get on here and bash black men. I'm just not gonna do it. I may give my opinion and say this, and this, but at the end of the day, I love black men. I want to see y'all do better. I want to see y'all succeed. There's nothing that's my number one goal. But for whatever reason, I think I can't see. Y'all know I can't see. I don't have my glasses on. The young man right here, like I'm pointing to, he stated, you want to correct black women. Correcting black women is not comparing them to white women or saying, oh, you need to be like this person. That's not, we can have a conversation on some things we need to work out, but starting out saying, how would you like it if I said, oh, why can't y'all be more like white men? White men got it like this. This is what white men do. White men this. I'm sitting here kissing his ass trying to bringing you down. Like, that's not how you start a conversation. That's not how you get somebody to be a part of your program. It's just not. And we got a lot of that going on in these spaces. It's a lot of hatred. I call it jealousy. That's what it sounds like. You did something poorly in your life, and now you want to hate on somebody. So let's just pick on black women. That's what it sounds like to me. I just had a whole conversation about education being a flex. Being a ball player is a flex, but being smart isn't. Just because black women want to go and pursue their education. It's not the education that you have a problem with. The problem is black women getting the education that you have a problem with. That's crazy to me. If somebody's doing something well, you should want to praise that and say, great job. Kudos to you. You know what I'm saying? I just don't understand this environment. Like a lot of the stuff, the people in these spaces, you cannot hang with me in real time. Absolutely not. Because if you come with that mentality, you are toxic. And that's just how I feel.
Okay. Panel, Shan did say that in reality, in real life, the men are much different than the men that's on these panels. What do you guys think the difference is? Do you agree with that? What are your thoughts on it?
I think a lot of black men do have critiques of black women, and they do have quarrels with them. The people on social media do tend to say things that they probably would not say to somebody in person. I do think we do have valid critiques of black women. I think they are the same pretty much. We all experience the same women for the most part, and we notice the same things. I think Shan probably presents herself a certain way, and men will probably respect her a certain way when she walks outside, which might be different from another woman. But at the same time, I think people are going to be a little bit hyperbolic when they come to the internet and say stuff that they would never say to your face. And I think to some degree, people are just salty. Like, it's a lot of men who really not getting boxed, and a lot of women who just being, who choosing the wrong guys, and everybody just salty, and they come on the internet and they all salty, and they just say things that probably aren't necessarily fully true. But I do think it's okay to make generalities, general statements sometimes. Like when she said that there are some certain things, what if I said that there's certain things that white men do better? And it's probably things that we can learn from white men, if it's valid, it's valid. So I don't know.
But Jay, I know you wanted to say something.
No, I mean he touched on most of it. Like, people are a lot more hyperbolic or a lot more animated online than they would be in person. You know what I mean? Because the consequences are different. You know what I mean? There's certain things that you don't have to. There's a level of consequence that's removed when you're, in the safety of your man cave or your bedroom versus being at a bar or in a circle of people who feel some type of way about what you're saying. So, and then I also think that, these messages that are put out there, like a lot of times with, trying to help men on dating and navigating this, relationship space, because it is tough, but we got to understand that some of the people that are receiving this message, with most of us on this panel, we've been half and half. We've probably lived half of our life off the internet altogether, and the second half of our life on the internet. So we're able to, navigate the difference, whereas these messages go out to some people who have never been off the internet at all. So their interpersonal skills are different. The information they're receiving, they're not knowing how to apply it because their social skills are lacking because they've spent so much time strictly in these boxes. You know what I mean? So I think we have to take that into account too, that if the message is received by one of us, we're gonna know how to apply it different because we probably went to college, we was on campus. We had to navigate a lot of this stuff offline first. But you have certain people that receive this and they're taking all this information and they've never, had face to face. They've never had to apply it in real life. They're just walking around with a bunch of information, a bunch of animosity based on, clips that they've seen.
I think another thing I wanted to push back on or just comment on is that he's saying that black men have an issue with black women getting educations. I don't believe that any black man has an issue with a black woman seeking higher education. I think the problem that we have is that almost all black women use their education as something that makes them a better partner. Instead, when to the men that they want to date, it only makes you a good employee. You having a degree doesn't make you a better wife. You having a degree won't instill, sympathy, nurturing, or anything into our children. It won't make you a more supportive wife. It won't make you more feminine. It won't make you more desirable, and it doesn't make you more attractive. As an employee, it would make you greater because you have a advanced degree. But as a woman and as a wife, that's not what we value in. Most men don't value a woman's accolades as far as professionally speaking or educationally when it comes to choosing her to be a wife. And if there is a subset of men that has an issue with black women getting educations, then we should probably have some of those guys on so we could dissect what their issue is. But I think that what we'll find if we do have those men on, it's because these women use their education as it becomes part of their identity as to why they shouldn't have to settle less for a man or why it's okay for them to be so masculine or one of these other things that some of us men feel are negative.
Shay, I know you had your hand up. Go ahead.
So I completely understand what you're saying. And I do know that there are some women on the internet who weaponize having an education. But I will also say this. I know men who will not date women who are not educated. If you are a certain guy, there are a lot of guys. I know you guys like to look at ball players and all those people, those that, I know men who want their women to be well-versed because they have to teach their children, plenty of them. And I have asked, most of them, it's a little few percent who don't care, but most of them do want their woman to be educated. Now, I will say this, as it relates to, I know, what did you just say? It was something else that you pointed out and I wanted to mention. And this is another thing, okay? Education teaches you far more than just academics, right? Only a small few people have an education. There's like only 38% of people who have an education. And you guys focus on that 38%. You know why? Because she carries herself a little different. She doesn't walk around, she ain't out here, because they teach you that in college. Those are not skills those are not like high school graduate skills. Usually those skills are taught at a university or in college, right? So you like an educated woman. You just don't realize that that's the education that helps her move the way that she's moving. Going to college is not just about the academia. It teaches you how to move, how to present yourself, how to brand yourself. And those are the things that you do like. Because if you didn't like those things, instead of us talking about the small 38% who are educated, we'd be more focused on the 60-something% that are not educated. But y'all overlook them because you're so focused on that. If it's about the education that you have a problem with, date the 60-something%.
The only reason why
out there. It's more of them.
the only reason why that 68% that you mentioned overlooked because they're not subject to this conversation because they don't have an education. We're talking about educated black women, and the educated black women that you're speaking of and defending, which is admirable. Them going to college is not their degree is not where they learn not to be ratchet. It's not where they learn how to be loud or do all that that you mentioned. That has nothing to do with their degree plan. There is nothing attractive about a woman with a social studies degree, a general studies degree, a degree in fine arts of humanities. None of that stuff will make a woman a good wife. The fact that you go to school proves that you for 4 years can do what you're told, turn in assignments and meet deadlines. Those aren't things I need my wife to do. I don't need my wife to teach my children based off of the degree that she's had. None of the advanced degrees that my son's mother has made her a good mother. The way she was raised made her a good mother because she knew what a father was, knew what a mother was, and she knew how to nurture the children. She didn't learn any of that in college. And to make the assertion that women are going to college learning these things is either just based on your limited anecdotal experience and completely devoid of the experience that the rest of us men have given you, or again, it's just something that you're saying because it sounds good. I don't know you well enough to pick one, but I will give you benefit of the doubt to say that you're being genuine in what you're saying. I don't think any man up here would agree that women go to college to learn how to brand themselves or how to move. They go to college to get a degree because they want to have independence and their parents push that narrative to them. Go to school, get a degree so you don't need a man.
So can I say something? I didn't say they go to school for that. I said that they learned that.
And that's what I said they didn't do. I don't believe that to be true at all.
So what I'm saying to you is that's fine. I can agree with everything you're saying. Then why are we talking about a minority subgroup? Why are we not focused on the majority? If you don't want to date a woman who has an education, that's fine. You have more to choose from. So that's not the majority of black women. So that's great. That's fine. Go get one that doesn't have an education.
It is the majority of black women in these spaces because, again, the women who don't have degrees don't bring it up. You're an educator, correct? So you brought it up. The women in these spaces who don't have that power base to draw from when they're trying to defend themselves or establish or demonstrate their self-worth, they don't bring up at degrees. The women who have them do. And in these spaces, anytime you see one of these content creators trying to cape for women, black women are more educated. Black women are buying more houses. They have all these different statistics about black women's education, so they use them to support their argument. So then when one of us comes with the counter to saying, well, black women have the most student debt, black women are the most evicted in America, black women have the most foreclosures, it seems as if we're trying to bash women instead of counter an argument.
So again, I only brought up the education because I just had an argument. We had a conversation, sir. We had a conversation Thursday about it, and I used it as an example about a flex. That's the only reason I brought up education. Now, as far as I think you said something about Hank just threw me off. But that's the only reason I brought up education. But again, we're not the most educated. There are races that have more education than we do. So again, just choose from that group. I brought that into this situation as an example of a conversation I just had in the chat on Thursday. That's the only reason I brought it in.
Well, why did you bring it up though?
Hold on straight.
My brother.
Because
one of the parts you also brought up,
because we talk about hating, because this is what it is right now. So
none of us are hating on educated black women. Nobody up here is.
Listen, you just said because a person got a degree in social studies. If that's what they want a degree, if it's not your woman, who cares? Some men may think that that's okay to have a degree in social studies.
So use your own logic against you. If these aren't the types of men that you want to date, why do you have an opinion about it? Or who cares? Because the reason why I use social studies is because a lot of women are going to school to get what the industry calls bullshit degrees. They go spend $200,000 or 4 years of college to go get a job they won't pay off their student loans they can't survive on because they have quote unquote a bullshit degree. Now, I understand that from a financial standpoint, but I'm not saying that any of these degrees are any less than outside of the consideration for what makes someone a good partner. If we had to pick a degree for what would make a woman a good partner, I would probably pick a communications degree because that means I know she knows how to listen to understand and also to be able to communicate with, tact, kindness, couth, decorum, and as a lady does, because that's part of the curriculum. You have to learn your audience. But the degrees that we women are actually proud of, nobody cares about. There's a significant amount of content available right now, so you can see what these women are going to get degrees in. You get an English degree from the University of Texas, that's $200,000. You come out of college making 45 grand. You can't afford rent and your student loan payments. So again, everything that you guys, these proponents of education with black women go for, mind you, I 100% support you guys going to school. What I don't support is you thinking that makes you a better woman, partner, or any sort of helpmate to a man, because it doesn't.
I don't. That's not what my argument was. I was talking about a flex.
Right. I mean, and then your comparison for the flex was a ball player.
Okay, we gotta get Hinkin. We gotta get Hinkin.
If I don't agree with your major, if you complete something, I'm going to praise you for that. I'm going to say congratulations. I'm not going to down you because of what you chose to do it in.
We gotta get Hinkin now,
what you want, you achieved your goal.
That's unrealistic.
That's just how people do in real life. You understand? I'm not going to knock you because you didn't do it in what I want to do.
We got to get Hinkin now. We'll do Hinkin, then we'll go to Miss Taking. She had a hand up.
Shit, it's a whole lot was said, but I don't think most men have an issue with women getting education. We just don't like the debt they come with because they wasn't smart enough to get an academic scholarship, or they wasn't talented enough to get an athletic scholarship. That's the part we don't like. I don't want to inherit a woman who has a $250,000 debt and has no idea how she's going to pay it off. So now I got to inherit that problem. You expect me to marry a woman like that and still can't find a decent job enough to cover the debt? No, I don't want to deal with that. No man should want to invest with a money pit, because that's all she is. She's a walking goddamn money pit. So now she comes with this education she bragging about, but she can't pay for shit. She can't take care of shit. But you got that paperwork. Congratulations. Like my man said, you was consistent for 4+ years to turning in assignments and work and doing what you need to do. Congratulations. I'm happy for you. Enjoy the moment. But if it's not beneficial to the whole as the family, then it's not beneficial to me. The only person that benefited you was you as an individual, because you was able to cross over. You was became part of the Divine Nine. She was able to have them red cup parties for multiple years. Maybe she got ran through. Maybe she was enjoying the basketball games and the football games and any student outing that she was able to enjoy. Congratulations on it. I'm glad you got that experience. I'm glad you was able to network. I'm glad you was able to develop some friendships along your 4+ years. Congratulations. But what the fuck are you bringing for me? Because none of those things that you got is not going to benefit me as a whole. It's not going to benefit my son, my wife, my son, my daughter, our kids. It's not. So if you're not going to bring anything that's going to benefit you the whole, then you can keep your shit. Now, as far as praising women, like my man said in that video, that dude's one of two things. He's a constantly friend zone dude, or he's a goddamn dick sucker. And he don't even like women. He just hangs around with them so he could pick up the stray dudes that come around. One or two things with this dude that I seen on the video. I'm very disappointed in this man and the way he's saying. And for the men she talking about, they don't praise women. Yeah, I praise my wife. But as a man who's a husband, I should be praising every woman. That's not my job. I should be praising mistaken. I should be praising shame. That's for your husband to do. That's for your man to do. He shouldn't be just on general praising you like that. Because now my wife gonna feel some type of, why are you praising this woman when you're not praising me? Hell no, I don't want them issues. And I shouldn't. And I don't expect my wife to praise another goddamn man. I'll leave it there.